In the winter of 1959, deep in the northern Ural Mountains of the Soviet Union, 9 young hikers walked into a landscape of snow, wind, and silence, and never walked out. Within weeks, searchers would find their tent sliced open from the inside and their bodies scattered down the slope, half-dressed, some with injuries closer to a car crash than a camping accident. This is the Dyatlov Pass incident, a real event documented in photographs, diaries, and autopsy reports, and surrounded ever since by rumor and the human mind's refusal to accept a simple answer. It is late January 1959. Stalin is dead and the worst of the terror has eased, but the Soviet Union still runs on secrecy in the quiet classification of its failures. At technical universities, mountaineering clubs are encouraged, controlled adventure that hardens future engineers. A winter trek through the Urals is both sport and proof of character, planned to the gram and logged with the sports committee. The expedition comes from the Ural Polytechnic Institute in Sverdlovsk, today Yekaterinburg. Its leader is Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old radio engineering student known for careful planning, the person you trust when conditions turn bad. With him are 8 others, mostly students in their early 20s, and all experienced in the cold. Among them, Zenaida Kolmogorova and an older latecomer, 37-year-old wartime veteran Semyon Zolotaryov. A 10th member, Yuri Yudin, turns back early, sick. His illness will save his life. Their goal is the remote peak of Oderton, one of the harder winter routes. They travel by train, truck, then ski, joking and taking photographs along the way. The diaries show tired, confident people, nothing out of control. They agree to send a telegram confirming their return around the 12th of February. On February 1st, near a peak the local Mindz call Kolat Shakal, Dead Mountain, they make the decision still argued about today. Losing daylight and visibility, instead of dropping into the sheltered forest below, they pitch a single large tent on the open, wind-scoured slope, cutting a platform into the snow. It is the last confirmed night of their lives. The telegram never comes. At first, no one panics. Winter delays are normal. But by late February, students, soldiers, and volunteers are combing the mountains. On February 26th, they find the tent, half buried and cut open from the inside. Boots, coats, and gear are still neatly inside, as if abandoned in seconds. From the tent, footprints lead downhill, some bare, some in a single boot, toward a forest a kilometer away. There, under a tall cedar, lie the first 2 bodies, stripped to their underclothes, with branches broken several meters up the tree. 3 more, including Dyatlov and Kolmogorova, are found between the cedar and the tent, frozen mid-crawl back uphill, dead of hypothermia. The last 4 are not found until May, buried under meters of snow in a ravine, and their injuries are far worse: crushed chests, a fractured skull, and in one case missing soft tissue from the face. A few garments carry faint traces of radiation. This is where a tragic accident starts to feel like a horror film, and where the theories begin. The 1959 Soviet inquiry blamed a compelling natural force, explained nothing, and closed the file. Into that silence rushed the rumors. Some whispered of a Mindz curse on sacred ground, though there was no sign the Mindz were ever there. Others suspected attackers, but nothing was stolen, and there were no other tracks. The darkest theory in a Cold War borderland near weapons test sites was a secret military accident and cover-up, fed by reports of strange lights in the sky and that trace of radiation. Decades later, the internet added UFOs, a Yeti, and panic-inducing infrasound. But over the years, a quieter explanation took shape, and in 2021, scientists Johann Gaum and Alexander Puzrin gave it hard numbers. Their avalanche modeling showed that a small slab of hardened snow sitting above the ledge the hikers had cut for their tent could fracture and slide even on that gentle slope, and that its weight could produce exactly the kind of chest and skull injuries the autopsies described. The rest follows grimly from there. A slab shifts in the night. The group wakes to snow pressing down and cuts their way out rather than be buried alive. Outside, in darkness and brutal wind below -20, they retreat to the tree line, meaning to wait out the danger and return for their gear. But hypothermia doesn't wait. They light a small fire, climb the cedar to scout, and begin to die. Some by the fire, some crawling back uphill. As the body cools, the freezing brain makes strange choices. The well-documented paradoxical undressing explains the missing clothes, and survivors stripping the dead explains the shared garments. The last four, moving blind near the forest, fall into a snow-filled ravine and are crushed and buried. The missing tongue and eyes are post-mortem decay and running meltwater, not a weapon. The radiation matches prior contamination from the hiker's own industrial work, not a blast. In 2019, under public pressure, Russia reopened the case, and in 2020 again landed on a natural cause, avalanche, then hypothermia. The truth then is a most likely answer, not a sealed one. No document reconstructs every minute of that night, but the strongest explanation needs no curse, monster, or secret weapon. A small slab avalanche struck a badly placed tent. 9 people cut their way out into a lethal storm, and the cold, the dark, and a hidden ravine did the rest. Later decay and a little prior radiation supplied the eerie details that kept the myth alive. The aftermath was decades of grief and suspicion, a vague verdict, sealed files, and families left without answers. The site took the name Dyatlov Pass after the leader who chose that slope. What remains today is modest in the world and enormous in the mind. A memorial stone, archived case files and diaries, a foundation run by relatives and researchers, and a story retold endlessly in books, films, and online threads, each promising the final answer. Which is the real lesson? Faced with a tent cut open from the inside and injuries it can't explain, the mind refuses to say, "I don't know." It reaches for an agent, a killer, a soldier, a monster, because a villain is easier to hold than indifferent snow. And inside that tent, there were no villains, only a trusted leader, a tired group, and a sudden threat in the dark, where staying together felt safer than stopping for your boots. Your brain does the same thing under pressure. Consensus feels like safety even when the ground has shifted beneath you. To close, in order. The reveal. The most likely cause was a small slab avalanche, then disorientation and hypothermia, then falls and burial in a ravine. Nature and human choices, not the supernatural. The correction: no real evidence supports attackers, secret weapons, monsters, or aliens. The missing tissue, the radiation, and the crushing injuries all have ordinary explanations. The aftermath, closed in 1959, reopened in 2019, ruled natural again in 2020, still argued over the details. What remains? A name pass, a memorial, archives, a foundation, and an outsized legend. And the human lesson: when people die with no witnesses, we fill the silence with monsters. And the most unsettling truth is that, cold and afraid in the dark, you might have cut your way out of that tent too.